ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ श्रीमेधा दक्षिणामूर्तिस्वामिने नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः वशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। So namaste once again everyone.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste, Hari Om Guruji.
Om Hari Om. So we will chant the bhashyam which we are discussing. Okay, one paragraph. I think it is on page 14 if I am not wrong. Tatra apara vidya vishayah.
तत्र अपरविद्या विषयः
कर्त्रादि साधन क्रिया
तत्र साधनक्रिया
फलभेद रूपः
फलभेदरूपः
संसारः
संसारः
अनादिरनन्तः
अनादिरनन्तः
दुःखस्वरूपत्वात्
दुःखस्वरूपत्वात्
आतव्यः
आतव्यः
प्रत्येकं शरीरिभिः
शरीरिभिः
सामस्त्येन
सामर्थ्येन
नदीश्रोत्रोवद्
नदीश्रोत्रोयद्
अव्यवच्छेद रूपसम्बन्धः
अव्यवच्छेदरूपसम्बन्धः
तत् उपशमलक्षणः
तत् उपशमनलक्षणः मोक्षः
परविद्याविषयः
परविद्याविषयः
अनाद्यनन्तः
अनाद्यनन्तः
अजरः
अजरः
अमरः
अमरः
अमृतः
अमृतः
भयः
अभयः
शुद्धः
शुद्धः
प्रसन्नः
प्रसन्नः
स्वात्मा प्रतिष्ठालक्षणः
स्वात्मा प्रतिष्ठालक्षणः
परमानन्दः
परमानन्दः
अद्वय इति.
अद्वयैति.
Very good. So we are discussing the Sangati Bhashyam, where Bhashyakara is introducing the mantra number 10 of the Upanishad, which is the first mantra of the second khanda of the first Mundaka. And Bhashyakara begins with the introduction with Purva Apara Sambandha Nirupanam. That is connecting the first section with the second section, thereby showing the continuity between the two sections insofar as the subject matter is concerned. He says that in the first section, both Paravidya and Aparavidya were mentioned, and their content was described briefly. It was like the headlines, the radio or news readers present at the beginning of the news. Then they pick up one headline and elaborate. Similarly, the Upanishad, having briefly stated the subject matter of the first section, now picks up Aparavidya for a more detailed discussion. Then Bhashyakara said, the second section is started or is being started for a particular purpose. He said that since the Upanishad has mentioned two subject matters, Paravidya and Aparavidya, there is now a need to distinguish between the two types of knowledge. There is a need to understand in more detail what Aparavidya is and what Paravidya is. Then he started the subject matter of Aparavidya was samsara, bondage. And the subject matter of Paravidya is moksha, freedom or liberation from that bondage. So the implication of this statement is that if you want moksha or liberation, the right knowledge you should choose is Paravidya and not Aparavidya. And he said that with the intention that the fields of these two vidyas, this Aparavidya and Paravidya, should be well distinguished and the differences between them are well appreciated, the following text is started. And Bhashyakara himself presents the separation briefly, and which is going to be elaborated in the text. He says, what is Aparavidya Vishaya and what is Paravidya Vishaya? That he is presenting in the next few sentences. Even though Aparavidya includes the entire Veda Purva Bhaga, which is the Karma Kanda, which talks about karma and upasana, and also all other material sciences, Bhashyakara is describing Aparavidya from the standpoint of Karma Kanda only. But as we have discussed, this description equally applies to all the material sciences as well. Then he went on to say that the primary component of Aparavidya is Kriya, action. And any action is accompanied by accessories. For performance of any action, you require so much material, so many accessories are required. Karana, that is called Karanam, which are required to perform the action. And also, a human being seldom engages in an action without some expectation of results of that action. So the third component of a kriya or a karma or an action is the results of the phala. That is the whatever, it could be both drishta result and adrishta result also. Adrishta result in the form of punyam and papam. And therefore, Aparavidya Vishaya he defined as Kartradi Sadhana Kriya Phalabeda Rupaha. So the subject matter of Aparavidya, the lower knowledge, is in the form of three layers, which are accessories such as agent, etc., which we understood by a technical term called karakas, and kriya and action. That is kriya, action, and phala, the result. So karaka, kriya, phala is the subject matter of aparavidya. And we must remember from the standpoint of karma kanda. Even otherwise also, material science also, these three things will be involved. And as long as you are in the grip of these three components, he said you are in the field of duality, which means you are in the realm of samsara, bondage. These actions will produce, apart from drishtaphala, adrishta results in the form of punya and papa. And these punya and papa will successfully keep you in bondage, and also perennial cycles of births and deaths. And another feature of this bondage he pointed out was that it is beginningless and endless. Nobody knows, even the Shastra doesn't know when all these began. And more frighteningly, this bondage has no end unless one puts in the right efforts to end it rather. Therefore, the endlessness of the bondage is relative. If you, understanding the limitations of the bondage, do nothing about it, the bondage will continue endlessly. And that is not desired, because this bondage is what? Dukkha swarupa. It is of the nature of sorrow, misery, arising out of a feeling of being limited in every way, being helplessly forced to accept every situation without any choice. In fact, the inherent nature of every living being is to be free from all types of shackles, to be eternally happy, permanently peaceful. And we can actually experience this not only in human beings, but even in animals. Suppose you are taking a dog for a walk on leash. Normally, that's what you are supposed to do, isn't it? Otherwise, it could go and bite somebody, and you will be, if it is a Western country, you could be sued for that. But just try to remove the leash from the dog. See what it does. It doesn't like to be, shackled and then taken for a walk. It wants freedom. The moment you remove that leash, it will just run away. So happily it will run. And therefore, every living being wants to be free. And that goal of the living beings, especially the human beings, cannot be accomplished by prolonging the samsara, the bondage, by pursuing aparavidya. And therefore he said, this samsara is required to be hatavyaha, required to be given up, should be eliminated. And this needs to be done by every jiva individually. We cannot have a community program aiming at giving up samsara, because when it comes to moksha or liberation, each and every person has to earn it for himself or herself. And that is what we were discussing at the close of the last class. Okay. And therefore, Bhashyakara said, Pratyekam Shariribihi. And it should be Hatavyaha Samasthena. Samasthena means completely. What is the significance of saying that samsara should be eliminated completely? Because this samsara is Dvaitatmaka samsara. It is resolved in Sushupti, in Pralaya. And even in some moments of happiness, the duality is not there. When you are happy, subject object duality is temporarily suspended. But then what happens? It again comes back. And in fact, sometimes when it comes back, it is more painful. It is no, it's like that, the hot summer afternoon, you come home profusely sweating and cursing the heat. Then you switch on the AC. Ah, cool air. In a few moments, you forget everything about summer, heat, perspiration or sweating, etc. You are feeling very comfortable, happy. Close your eyes and you are enjoying the moment. Suddenly, there is a power cut. Now you will feel the heat more because your body has become cool. And the summer heat will hit you with double vengeance. At least outside there was some air. But inside the AC room, in the house, all windows and everything are closed and sealed for the AC. The pain of that heat will be lot more. Similarly, even if you are able to temporarily resolve the subject object duality, due to achievement, some accomplishment, some happiness is there as a consequence. This samsara does not give permanent relief. Aparavidya does not give permanent relief or permanent solution. And therefore, the samsara needs to be removed completely. Completely means by removing its roots, which are avidya, kama, karma. And therefore, samsara has to be removed completely at every individual level. Because the individual and samsara, they have a very closely knit bondage. It's a gapless bondage, actually. And that is what he says in the next sentence. Nadi shrotrovad avyavacheda rupa sambandha. Sambandha. Generally, the word sambandha is used in the sense of connection. But here, sambandha can be interpreted as samyak bandha sambandha. A strong bond is called sambandha. And what is the nature of that sambandha? Avyavacheda rupa. Avyavacheda means without any gap. It continuously goes on. It is a strong and unbroken bondage. Therefore, if someone troubled by the samsara dukkha feels that let me get away from all these misery by committing suicide, it will not solve the problem. Because if the person commits suicide, his karmas, his or her karmas are still in the account. There will be rebirth. And therefore, those karmas he has to suffer or he has to experience. In fact, one more papa karma is added to that now of taking your own life. So he has to suffer for all these things in the next birth. So therefore, there is no escape. And there is only one escape route from this samsara bondage. And that is removing its root. That is removing avidya completely. Uproot the avidya and gaining paravidya. And Bhashyakara gives an illustration of this strong bondage. He says, Nadi Srotro Vad. Vad is a pratyaya used in the Sanskrit language, which means like or similar to. Shrotaha means continuous flow, uninterrupted flow. Nadi, as we know, means a river. Therefore, this samsara bondage keeps going on and on like the uninterrupted flow of water in a river. Even if some obstacles are there, like rocks, etc., we have seen that the water will bypass such obstacles, continue its flow like the perennial river. So Bhashyakara very brilliantly gives this example, because eventually the river water will end up where? It will end up in the sea or ocean and will become one with the sea. And this is symbolic that despite all this samsara flow, the Vyashti eventually, at some future time, will become one with Samashti on gaining moksha. And therefore, there are two takeaways from this. One is that every jiva's travel, birth after birth, is towards that moksha liberation only. The end of every jiva is moksha only, the fourth purushartha. For some jivas, it could be earlier, some jivas, it could be later, but every jiva is going towards that moksha only. That's the first message. Second message is, since you know your destination now, my dear Mumukshu, what are you waiting for? Take to Paravidya right away and see if it is quite possible that you may achieve that moksha here and now in this life itself. You may become totally free, liberated. You may become one with Samashti. You may achieve the Ishvara Prapti in this life itself. So why are you waiting? That is the message that the Upanishad is giving and Bhashyakara is also giving. And this example is a brilliant example for that. And we can further expand this symbolism. The river water looks at itself and admires its own majestic flow through the long winded paths, sometimes bending, sometimes flowing straight. And it looks at other rivers which have very little water, feels proud about its own gushing flow. It is elated listening to the sound of its flow, which is music to its ears. Then finally, when it flows into the sea, the wisdom dawns that all that pride, all that music, all that majestic flow was all irrelevant, because I have to eventually merge with the sea like all other rivers. A sea where there is only water. You cannot see the sea water and say, oh, this is Ganga water, this is Yamuna water, this is Narmada water, this is Kaveri water. You cannot. All waters merge into the sea and become one with the sea. It is then that the wisdom dawns on the river that my water is no different from all other waters. What is there is only water. Even the waves of the sea are only water. The wisdom that Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma dawns. And this is only way to escape from samsara. That wisdom should come. Not necessarily that once the river water knows that this is going to be the end, then all that pride, all that, looking what oneself, superiority complex and all, it will realize it is irrelevant. What is it that I am celebrating? Nothing. So, this example, Nadi Srotrovad, is a beautiful example. And of course, Bhashyakara, we need not praise him too much. He is known for such examples, rather. We should thank ourselves, we should congratulate ourselves, we should thank God also that we have got an opportunity to closely study what Bhashyakara's Bhashyams and his own thinking, his own presentation. Anyway, so now having talked about Aparavidya, Bhashyakara talks about Paravidya in the next line on page number 15. We have read it, so I will just read the line myself, no need to repeat. Tad upashama lakshanah mokshah paravidya vishayah anadhyanantah ajarah amarah amritah abhayah shuddhah prasannah swatma pratishta lakshanah paramanandah advaya iti. So now he is contrasting the aparavidya with paravidya. So paravidya vishayah, the field of paravidya is higher knowledge, is talked about. And Bhashyakara makes it very clear. Paravidya vishayah moksha, freedom or liberation from bondage, is the field or the subject matter of the sphere of paravidya. And what is this moksha? He says moksha is not something to be gained positively. It is tad upashama lakshana. It is in the form of upashama, cessation. Cessation of tad. Tat means that. And that refers to samsara. Dvaita rupa samsara, aparavidya vishaya dvaita rupa samsara, upashamaha. So, in the form of the plurality of kriyakaraka phala, tad upashamaha. In samsara upashamaha, dvaita upashamaha. And end or cessation of dvaitam is what? Advaitam. Therefore, advaitam is equal to moksha, is equal to paravidya vishayah. So, tad upashama lakshanaha, moksha. And this moksha also is anadhyanantah. So here Bhashyakara is not distinguishing between Paramatma and moksha. Because according to scriptures, Paramatma alone is in the form of moksha. And therefore Paramatma Prapti and Moksha Prapti are considered equal. So moksha is the nature of Paramatma, and therefore whatever is the nature of moksha is presented here as the nature of Paramatma. And who is that Paramatma? It is myself alone. We need not look here and there. Who is that Paramatma? Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Paramatma Asmi. And once you understand the nature of your real self, the total real self of Paramatma, you will appreciate that there is no difference between me and Paramatma. The so-called difference which you are entertaining all along due to your ignorance is gone. And that is what is called moksha. So moksha is not something that, okay, it's a goal, all right. We have to reach that goal. We have to do a lot of sadhanas. We should not understand moksha in that sense. Moksha, you are already a Mukta Purusha. Moksha is our very nature because Paramatmatvam is our very nature. By nature, we are all Mukta. The only problem is because of avidya, because of ajnanam, because of this ignorance, we don't know that. Once that ignorance is gone, moksha is what? Is swayam siddha, atma jyotihi. Normally we give the example of a sun covered by dark clouds. When you look outside, it is all very dark during day. Then you find out the reason. Oh, this is the dark clouds. Does that mean that the sun is not there? Sun is very much there. But it is covered by the dark clouds of ignorance. Then what happens? A strong wind of paravidya comes and takes away these dark clouds of ignorance. And the sun which was always there, that shines. Brightly it shines. So moksha is something like that only. Once that happens, you then come to realize that I was never bound. I was ever free. And therefore, this moksha is nitya hai. In the case of sun and cloud, okay, one set of clouds were blown off. Another set of clouds may again come and cover the sun. But in the case of moksha, that will not happen. Because once you have gained knowledge, ignorance again cannot set in. Knowledge can replace ignorance, but ignorance cannot replace knowledge. Therefore, the Swarupa of Atma, the self, is Nitya hai. And therefore it is said Anadi Ananta hai. Moksha is Anadi Ananta hai, beginningless and endless. Now we may wonder, that is also said Anadi Anta hai for the Dvaita Rupa Samsara. Now it is said that this Paravidya Vishaya, this moksha is also Anadi Ananta. So we have got two Anadi Ananta. And if both of them are Anadi Ananta, then how can we say Advaya, which is the last word in this sentence? Advaya is the last word. So this is a very valid doubt. Any serious student, committed student who is understanding what is being talked about will ask. So this valid question needs to be answered. Therefore, here we have to understand that which is said to be Anadi Ananta is Vyavaharika Drishtya, because Dvaita Prapancha is regarded as Satyam only from Vyavaharika Drishtya, but it is not considered Satyam, but only as Mithya, an appearance from Paramarthika Drishtya. Therefore, that Anadi Ananta, the Dvaita Prapancha Samsara, does not disturb the Advaita Paramatmika Brahma. The Paramatmika Tattva Atma is non-dual, and that non-dual status of Paramatma Brahma is not displaced and is not affected by Vyavaharika. It is just like, when I stand in a hall of mirrors, I see many reflections, which appears as if I have become many. But my being, the real one, the only real one, in a relative sense, is not disturbed by or not affected by the many reflections. The reflections of myself do not disturb my status of being one. I alone am there in the hall. Similarly, the Vyavaharika Dvaita does not disturb Paramarthika Advaita. The empirical reality, the empirical duality cannot disturb the absolute reality. Therefore, Vyavaharika Drishtya Anadi Anantaha. Samsara doesn't have beginning and it will continue till Advaita Jnanam dawns on the person. And at which point it is realized that the Dvaita Prapancha does not have existence of its own. And that is called Mithyatva Nishchaya of Dvaita Prapancha. And this Mithyatva Nishchaya is called Bhadaha. Bhadaha of Dvaita Prapancha. So that Bhadaha has to be negated. Negation of Dvaita Prapancha. And that negation is called here Tad Upashamaha. So Tad Upashama is the negation of Dvaita Prapancha. And that negation of Dvaita Prapancha is nothing but understanding that it really did not exist at any time. And that is why this Vyavaharika Dvaita Prapancha is not disturbing this non-dual status of Brahma, Advaita Brahman. So both of them are Anadi Anantaha. But Dvaita Prapancha is Anadi Anantaha from Vyavaharika angle, and Brahma or Moksha or Paramatma nature is Anadi Anantaha from Paramarthika angle. That is how, even though Anadi Ananta words are used for both of them, in the previous one it was from the Vyavaharika standpoint, and here it is from Paramarthika standpoint, Anadi Anantaha. Then Bhashyakara goes on to describe this Paramatma with lot of adjectives. He says Ajaraha. Literally, Ajaraha means free from old age. Jara means old age. So this moksha, which is in the nature of Paramatma, is Ajaraha. It does not have old age. So it is not that now your moksha has become old and it will soon die. This moksha does not have the Shad Vikaras, the 6 changes which the body mind complex undergoes. Asti, Jayate, Vardate, Viparinimate, Apakshiyate, Vinashyati. All this moksha doesn't undergo. And also, because it has become old, you have to replace with new moksha, also is not the case. It is Ajaraham, moksha is in the nature of Atma, and Atma is free from all modification, including this Apakshaya. So Ajaraha means Apakshaya Rahitaha. The next one is Amaraha. The word Amaraha we could have translated as immortal, but here another word Bhashyakara uses soon is Amritaha. That is also there. And therefore, we can't give the same meaning to both Amaraha and Amritaha. So we have to say Amaraha means negation of each vikara. So earlier we said apakshaya rahitaha for ajaraha. Here Bhashyakara we have to interpret as viparinama rahitaha, free from metamorphic change. The 6 Shad Vikaras which take place. So this Atma is free from that. And we can then take the meaning of Amrita as Nasha Rahita. So three main, old age is actually categorized, or we can say that it is denoted by three main changes. What are they? Viparinamate, Pakshiyate.
Clerics are being chased off the streets. Half the population no longer identifies as Muslim, and young women are burning hijabs.
Satishji, please mute. They are listening to some other thing.
Exodus from religion enforced by the state. You see, back in 1979, Iran promised the world an Islamic.
Satishji,
Clerics took part.
Guruji, you can mute him.
Hijab became
I am
mandatory.
muting him, but I want him to know that he's sitting in this class. He cannot be watching some YouTube video or something. This disturbs, the whole mood goes, teaching mood. So as I was saying, old age, there are three changes which take place. In fact, they take place quite fast. One is, as I said, viparinamate, then apakshiyate, then nashyati. These three are the important salient features of old age. So Bhashyakara uses three words here, Ajaraha, Amaraha and Amritaha, to say that Atma does not have these three types of modifications. And that is the glory of Atma, and that is my glory rather. So I am Anadi Ananta, I am Ajara, I am Amara, I am Amrita. This is my glory. And because of all these, I am Abhaya. I am free from fear. I am free from the cause for fear, because what causes fear, as we have already seen, is Dvaitam. Previous class we saw Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. Dvitiya means second. The second thing, second entity causes fear. Means what? Pujya Swamiji used to explain that this Ditviyat vai bhayam bhavati means when I consider somebody to be second from me, then I am considering myself to be different from him, and therefore I am limited. And being limited, I will be a samsari. I cannot be free from being a samsari or becoming a samsari as long as I am considering myself to be limited. So Dvitiya, the second one, will imply my limitation. So my feeling being limited is a guarantee for samsara, and in samsara I will include bhaya. Because you are in competition now. You are there, somebody else is also there. And that somebody else may be much more superior to you, and so you want to become that somebody. And to become that somebody, you have to face competitions. And when you are in competition, there is so much fear, whether I will succeed or not, whether the other fellow will defeat me or not. Therefore, abhaya means free from fear. And that is going to be made very clear explicitly at the end of the sentence by saying Advaya. So I, Atma, am free from fear. But now someone may say, sometimes this dog chases me and fear comes. And what does that indicate? This fear is because of the past samskaras of taking myself to be this body-mind complex. And therefore, there is a sense of fear. But I, who am Atma, is free from all such modification. I am actually Sakshi of that fear. And when I own up myself to be consciousness, then even that fear will not be there. No doubt, some fears are ingrained, like the fear of finding oneself in a lonely place on a dark night. So reorientation takes a very long time. The more you move away from identification with body-mind complex, the faster such fears will vanish. Even in this example, the fear is not because someone or something is there. It is a fear arising out of a feeling. What if something is there which will be inimical to me? But once you understand and assimilate that I consciousness, I'm never going to be threatened by anything. Nothing can threaten me. So when I am owning up that wisdom, that I am never going to be affected, then even that fear will go away. But it does not happen over time. It happens slowly over a period of time. So abhaya. Then he says Shuddha. Atma is Shuddha. We must remember that all these are description of Paravidya. Paravidya Vishaya. Subject matter of Paravidya is this Atma, the nature of which is described here by using various adjectives. So Shuddha means pure. Ever pure I am means impurity cannot touch me the consciousness. I am the consciousness and it cannot be touched by any impurity. Physical impurity, any dirt or dust or dirt cannot touch me, the consciousness. Physical body can be affected, but not consciousness. And that consciousness I am. Even a mind can have impurity. Impurity of raga dveshas in the form of kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsadya. Even in karana sharira, there can be ignorance of so many things. So impurities at all the three sharira levels, the stula, sukshma, karana sharira is possible. But I consciousness, I'm illuminating all of them. And I'm free from all impurities. I am Shuddha. So this is another very important fact that needs to be assimilated. Because many people have this particular idea, especially when they come to Vedanta and they remain in this pursuit for some time. A feeling comes, oh, I have got so many impurities. I am still impure. Vedanta talks about Chitta Shuddhi. So I have to become pure. Then only moksha will come. So even for the teacher, the acharyas, initially, or even Shastra, initially it was required to highlight the importance of purity. But it should not become an obsession. Then the very spirit of Vedanta is defeated. One should continue to do one's karmas with a karma yoga attitude, and required purity will come on its own. There is no need to be anxious about it. In fact, worrying about purity is itself an impurity. And that's why we keep saying antakarana shuddhi. We don't label anyone as impure. Atma is ever pure. And when we address a person, we cannot label the whole person as impure. And that is why we refer to purity of only antakaranam, the inner instruments. Mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara. For Vedanta, physical impurity does not matter. Whereas in Aparavidya, physical impurity is one of the most important factors. In Paravidya, physical impurity does not matter. What matters is mental impurity. So we have to understand all these subtle differences. But of course, does not mean that you come to Vedanta, does not mean you don't take bath and you don't clean yourself and all. No, not that. That has to be done for good health. Even forget Paravidya, Aparavidya, even for a healthy living, taking bath, everything has to be, or cleaning yourself, washing your hands before and after food, everything is necessary. You have to keep the outer body, inner body, all the instruments functioning. So that is required. But what we insist in Vedanta is your mind should be pure. It should be free from all the ragadveshadi impurities. So that is what is important. So the next word is prasannaha. The word prasanna has got both meanings. Prasanna means pure and prasanna means also tranquil. So we have to take the meaning as tranquil, because we have already used the purity meaning in the earlier word rather, isn't it? So now we say prasanna means tranquil. I am Shanta Swarupaha. So in Bhashyam, generally, we come across such challenges. Many times, Bhashyakara assumes that we have got enough knowledge of Sanskrit and we will take the appropriate meaning. So he puts Shuddha and Prasanna together. But then that assumption of Bhashyakara might have been valid in his times. But in today's situation, probably it is no longer valid for most of us. And therefore, what happens? The Tikakaras, the sub-commentators step in. And they have got their own style or ways of handling this. They will say Shuddha means Swabhavataha Maya Malarahitaha. Prasanna means Cha Aguntaka Dharma Adharmadi Kalushya Virahi. All this, you will find when you read the Tikakara, this commentary, sub-commentaries rather. So that's why, Bhashyam, when you go into it, we are only in the first stage of studying the Bhashyam. We do not go into the commentaries and all that. Right? Many words in the Bhashyam, there were detailed commentaries. So normally, Bhashya study in the Gurukulam, not in our Gurukulam, in certain ashrams and all, it is studied along with the commentary. You can imagine how long it will take. So, what this commentary is, Swabhavatah, Maya Malarahitah is Shuddha, Prasanna is Cha Aguntaka Dharma Adharmadi Kalushya Virahi. It means certain impurities are there beginninglessly, like Ajnanam. That is Swabhavika Mala, which is found in the Antakarana. That Swabhavika Mala also is not there, therefore Shuddha. And Aguntaka Mala, which refers to Punya Papa, which come. They were not there earlier and the Punya Papa have come now. They are called Aguntaka Mala. Certain dirt was not there earlier, now it has come. That is also in the Antakarana only, rather in Karana Sharira. So the first one, Shuddha, refers to the Mala in the Sukshma Sharira. The second one, Prasanna, is referring to Mala in Karana Sharira. This is how they interpret. I mean, we need not get obsessed with all this interpretation. Just it's all more, trying to understand it from different standpoints. So, Punya Papa, the Papa Mala, Punya is not a Malam, but Papa is a impurity. So that keeps coming rather, isn't it? As in our ignorance, taking ourselves to be a karta, we keep doing action and a lot of adharmic karmas are there and Papa accrues. And that is indicated by prasanna. So Shuddha means free from swabhavika mala, free from this beginningless impurities, which is the foundation of which is avidya, ajnanam. And prasanna means free from incidental impurity, or we can take Shuddha means pure, prasanna means tranquil. Both ways we can see. It in sum, it means I, Atma, consciousness, am free from any kind of disturbance, any kind of impurity. Because disturbance is the nature of the body. Body can be disturbed. I am sitting and somebody moves me, pushes me, I have a fall, and my physical body gets disturbed. My muscles, the ligaments get disturbed. All that possible. Or even the mind can get disturbed. Some news comes, person is so much disturbed, even when it is not, the news doesn't relate to him. For example, many of us were disturbed when that air crash took place a few days ago. All this is possible. But Atma, which is illuminating the disturbed body, Atma, which is illuminating the disturbed mind, is free from all disturbances and therefore prasanna. And then he says this moksha, which is of the nature of this nature, whatever he has described, is swatma pratishta lakshana. It is in the form of pratishta, abidance in one's own self. So this moksha is in the form of abidance in one's own self, means abidance in one's own true nature. What does it mean? It is in the form of abidance in the knowledge of Atma. So abidance in Atma is equal to abidance in the knowledge of Atma. And abidance in the knowledge of Atma is in the form of not losing sight of the Vedanta about myself, not losing sight of the vision of Vedanta about myself, not losing the essential vision of Vedanta. And what is that essential vision? I am limitless Brahman. Not losing sight of this understanding is called Jnana Nishta, Atma Jnana Nishta. And that Atma Jnana Nishta, that abidance in the self alone, is called Swatma Pratishta, which is moksha. Then, from where all this problem started? This problem started with the Buddhi. Buddhi has created this division in me and others. The Dvaita Prapancha is the creation of the Buddhi, even though the Buddhi itself does not have its locus anywhere other than the Atma. The Buddhi always stays in Atma only, but because of Avarana and Vikshepa Shakti of Maya, the Buddhi ends up creating this Dvaita Prapancha. Now this Buddhi gains the understanding that what is there is Atma alone and that there are no others. I alone am Satyam. The reality, everything else is Mithya, only an appearance. This is called abidance in Atma. So abidance in Atma is abidance in the fact that Atma alone is. I, Brahman, alone is. This is figuratively called abidance in Atma. Swatma Pratishta Lakshana. And what is the nature or the swarupa of that Atma? He says Paramananda. We will see this more in the next class. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Dhanyavadaha. Thank you all very much.
ధన్యవాదాలు.
Thank you very much.
ధన్యవాదాలు గురుజీ. ధన్యవాదాలు.
Thank you.
ధన్యవాదాలు.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Dhanyavadaha.
Guruji.
Hari Om Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dhanyawadaha.
Namaskar.
Thank you. Two
I
hands
think-
up.
I think one of the best classes so far. It summarizes the entire Upanishad beautifully.
This is only the introductory bhashyam. We have to go through the mantras and then the detailed bhashyam of the mantras are also there. Yeah. But that bhashyakara is bhashyakara, he
So
beautifully summarizes the whole thing.
the way the characteristics are described is fantastic, and in nutshell it enumerates what it is.
Exactly. So you have to keep on repeating this message in your mind. That is how it will go and get settled down in the mind, That is why, again and again and again we read we study so many Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, everything message is very simple, same. It can be put in just 3 sentences, that's all. But that 3 sentences to go inside and get, settled and we abide in that knowledge, that takes a long time. That's what it is. Anyhow, yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
quite very,
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Lataji, what is your question?
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
No question, Guruji. I was just like Sitaramji, what expressed, that's what I was going to say as well. About the example of river joining the ocean, the way it's been described, and it's so beautiful. I think some time ago, somebody in the class had shared a poem by Khalil Gibran, similar story, similar kind of simile,
Yeah.
but there the river is afraid to join the ocean. But
Trembling.
here it's, yeah, so that's beautiful. And also, Guruji, I think I'm not sure if I mentioned to you, I was always wondering how the knowledge of the self, how can Anatma get the knowledge of the self? I was always wondering, how can you get, how can you realize within inverted commas about the self with our limited faculties? But then in today's class, also in one of the previous classes as well, the message went home that it is not to gain that knowledge, but it is just to drop the avidya, drop the ignorance is what you use your faculties.
Yes.
That is something very beautiful. And also the example of the mirror, one standing in a hall of mirrors. That's all these go to so beautiful to drive the message home about. And I again to repeat Sitaramji's words, very beautiful. I think that when the messages go home and you understand it better, you feel the class is beautiful. But all the classes are beautiful. But
See,
it's how
what
much
I say
you
is,
grasp.
as we progress, our understanding also is becoming better and better, So that is how it keeps us glued to what more is to come, what more is to come. Because we imagine we are only in the 12th mantra and there are 65 mantras in this Upanishad. And so there is a curiosity. Oh, already everything is said here itself. Then what more is there? So is the curiosity.
Yeah.
You actually latch on, okay, let me continue to this class, And that is how our Acharya make it interesting for us, to go through with so many, some examples we find in the Bhashyam, some examples Acharyas have actually, they give on their own. And all those examples are very helpful for us to understand the whole thing rather. So that is the beauty of this entire spiritual journey rather. Okay.
Yeah, but that wisdom to be grounded in that wisdom and then to live that wisdom is what I think we need to live.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, Arun Kumar ji.
Good evening, Guruji.
Evening.
In the class today, Guruji, you have mentioned that the under Aparavidya, this thing is Anadi. Samsara is Anadi as well as
Moksha is Anadi.
So where do we, of course, the Anadi and this thing arises for samsara from the karmas and the consequences. Where is it actually? I mean, I lost the track actually.
See, the Anadi of samsara is because of ajnanam, ignorance. And this ignorance, we do not know when it started. Yeah, we do not know when even the whole creation started, right? Beginningless times. But sometime this jiva came into being. And this ignorance about the self, that I am actually Atma, I am not this body, mind, sense complex, that ignorance of that particular fact has been there since beginningless times. We do not know from where it all started. Because once you are actually knowledgeable, then ignorance cannot come again, isn't it? Suppose there is darkness in a room and you switch on the light, then can darkness come again there? It cannot. But in the case of light, if you switch off the light, the darkness will come. But in the case of knowledge, knowledge cannot be replaced by ignorance, isn't it? Knowledge replaces ignorance.
Correct.
So, since we know that we have not got that knowledge, we still have got ignorance because we are identifying ourselves with the body, mind, sense complex still. And it is said that because of this, when did it all start? It all started beginningless times and it has been going on and on and on. Now you have come to a stage in this life to know that you are ignorant about certain things, certain facts of this universe, certain realities. So that is why it is Anadi. And Anantaha, it is said because unless you do something about it, that ignorance is going to continue in this life, next life, next life, next life. There is only one way to replace that ignorance, remove that ignorance, which is knowledge. So gain that knowledge, which is Paravidya. That is what Anadi Ananta is all about. Okay?
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Srikanji.
Guruji, this is a question because my memory faded. Only a guru can impart this knowledge to a student. So we say Tatvidhi Pranipadena is one of the quotes that we have.
We'll
The other quote somewhere Gurumeva Adhikachet. There is one sloka mantra. I couldn't remember it.
12th mantra. Wait, we'll come to that.
This is
Karmachitan. Yeah, in this very Upanishad, 12th means, sorry, not 12th, 20th mantra of this second section. We'll come to that.
Oh, okay.
Lokan Karmachitan Brahmanaha Nirvedam Akrita Kritena Tad Vigyanartam Gurumeva Vigachet Samit Panihi Srotriyam Brahma Nishtam. Come. Wait. Have patience.
Thank you, Guruji. Somehow I was trying to remember this. I couldn't remember. Thank you.
It will all come. Okay. Lataji, was there one more additional question? Your hand's still up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Guruji. I would try.
That's okay.
No.
I thought sometimes one new question will come when somebody else asks.
Actually, I didn't have a question, but right now I just wanted to ask you the audio that you play before the class begins of Sri Brahmanandaji. It's of which one, Guruji?
Today I played Nirvana Dashakam, I think.
Nirvana Dashakam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nirvana Dashakam. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Okay,
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om, Hari Om. So shall we close the class? Nothing more. Okay. Hari Om.
Thank you,
See
Thank
you next Monday. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Guruji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om, Guruji.
Good night.
Hari Om. Good night.